Hi, I'm Rick Maurer. I want to talk about how to avoid the avoidable headaches that go with change. When I ask leaders about challenges they're facing, quite often there's a theme like, why don't people get it? Why don't they like it? Why do people keep sending substitutes? Why do our meetings seem to last forever and not result in much? As the CEO said to me one time, how come all I get is malicious compliance? And when I talk to these leaders about what's needed, they quite often say, people need to support this stuff. We need their energy. We need their input. We need their forward momentum to make this thing a success. And yet something gets in the way. And I don't think it's lack of skills on the part of these leaders. They've read the same books that everybody else has. They sort of know what to do. And I don't think it's a lack of a desire. I mean, I think they're being sincere about this, that they'd really like to do it. But I think there's an organizational mindset at play quite often. And that mindset then becomes the mindset for us as individuals without even thinking about it. And that is the only thing that's important is what's on the page. We've got to make it through this plan. We've got to get there by such and such a date within this budget. And all of that is logical. That makes sense. What we miss is, and where's the energy going to come from to get us there? And that can be a big problem. And so for those leaders who believe that we really need to do things that actually foster people getting supporting and having energy and vitality and all of that, it becomes an add-on. It's something that we do if we have time. And so consequently, we're thinking about how do we add things to our already packed schedules. And so right away, that creates an incredible dissonance, and we're probably not going to do that. So it's a hassle. So I want to talk about a way to begin thinking about that differently. And I'm going to give you 3 steps that I think you could apply today. First, I'd like to give you an analogy. All right, I love coffee, and my local coffee shop is open again. I'm very happy about that. And when I go there and get in line, invariably there's somebody there who is ordering a latte. And never once have I heard that person say, give me a latte, but hold the milk, because you don't do that. A latte is a blend of steamed milk and espresso, period. Anything else is a frill, is an add-on. The 2 essential ingredients are milk and coffee. And when they're put together well, they're blended so well that when you taste it, you can't tell where the coffee ends and the steamed milk begins. It's a seamless blend of goodness, if you will. I think every one of our routine conversations and tasks involved with change, we ought to be thinking like we're baristas. How do I blend support into the technical part of the plan? Not as something I add on at the end, but how do we do those routine tasks in a way that actually people lean in and go, oh, good, okay, yeah, let's do that. And it really is possible. I told a story in the last video I did about changes that derailed. I'm going to tell it again, but I want to talk this time about what they did brilliantly to blend support and energy kind of in. I was invited into an organization. The planning team in a very large organization was in charge of coming up with a plan for what was a very controversial organizational change, like a big reorg kind of thing. And they were working with a very good consultant on the technical part of that to make it work. And I was just there to teach this new model I had just come up with that I had written about in a book. This is back in the 90s. And they started talking about the problems. And somebody even said a bomb is going to drop. And I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, we're having a meeting with the stakeholders next week, and it's going to be awful. Oh, and then they went on and on. People are going to hate it. They're going to da, 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 da. And they said, what should we do? So before we go on into that, what should we do? They've already done something that is really important. One, they recognized that they probably had a really big challenge. And the and is really important to this sentence, and it was safe enough to talk about that challenge in this group. I bet all of us have been in meetings where we've recognized some big challenge looming, but we go, no, can't talk about that here. It's not safe. Sorry. Uh, so that combination of recognizing something and being able to test out, are my assumptions correct, and actually talk about that out loud is a huge first step. The second thing is we need to know our audience and we need to know what their hopes are, their concerns, their fears. Otherwise, whatever we're coming up with is going to be some idea that we got out of a textbook somewhere or something that we used a few years ago, but it may have nothing to do with the people we're trying to influence today. So they ask for help. It would have been irresponsible of me to say, oh, well, turn to page 42 in my book and there's an answer. Uh, First of all, I didn't know them very well, and I certainly didn't know their stakeholders at all. And so to offer a technique really would have been irresponsible. So I wanted more information. I said, so does everybody here know somebody coming to that planning meeting next week where you're going to introduce the thing? Everybody said, oh, yeah. And I said, what's going to be on their minds? And there was a flip chart beside me. And it's almost like I couldn't write fast enough. I mean, they were just shouting stuff out at me, and I'm writing really fast. And now imagine there's a flip chart filled with pretty small print of all the stuff they said, and everything on that list is negative. Now you look at it, and by the way, that's unusual. I often will see a variety of things like, but it was all negative. And you could almost feel the energy go out of the room. I mean, it's the kind of thing where you look at a list like that and you go, oh, what's the use? Why didn't I go into taxidermy like my parents wanted me to? I mean, it's just awful. So what we need now is we need to know who these people are we're trying to influence. What do they hope for? What are their concerns? What are they afraid of, especially with regard to this change? So it's important to have a way to make sense of all that data that's on that list. Now, I use a model I came up with, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a second. But if you have a good way of looking at a set of raw data, people's opinions and reactions, and making sense of it so that you can use it, continue to use that. Don't worry about learning my model. Okay, if you got something that's working, by all means, don't add stress to your life. Just go ahead and use it. Okay, but here's what I did. I had just taught them my 3 levels of support and resistance. And I said, okay, so everything here was on the resistance side. I said, all right, so level 1, I don't get it. So which of these represent people just not understanding what's going on? And there were a couple of things. So I underlined with, let's say, a green marker. And I said, all right, so why aren't people going to like it? This is level 2, and it's based on fear. Something about this change really scares me. And I used a different color marker. And they gave me a bunch of things. And then I said, all right, which of these are level 3? And they basically, I don't like you, which means I don't have trust and confidence in you or the people you represent to follow you. And I used a third color marker. So now in 2 minutes, that entire list is color coded. And somebody said, that's why the bomb is going to drop. Look at that. We designed that 8-hour meeting to deal with facts and figures, all level 1 stuff, timelines, deliverables, all that kind of stuff. And the guy said, and that's really important, obviously, but they're walking in with level 2 fears and level 3 lack of trust in us. We got to do something. Now, everything they were doing at this point was based on the data that they had, their assumptions, and then checking their assumptions like, yeah, we're going to have really big problems. And now we get to the third step, and that is finding a way that we can blend support into the plan, being a barista, if you will. So here's what they did. I was in for about 3.5 hours, and they said, could we use the next hour and redesign that planning meeting? Now, I was hired to teach this and teach that, and I could have said to you, that's a great idea, but my contract says I need to be teaching you this theory that I developed, and it's really good. You ought to listen. That would have been a stupid use of time. And it would have been a stupid show of ego right there. And so I said, no, it's a great idea. And I shut up. They pulled their chairs around. And when they started talking, energy was high, but it was a real negative kind of energy. I mean, because remember, they had that long list in front of it. But as they started talking about, well, how are we going to do this in a way that gets the information out, but actually can reduce fear and may even start to build trust. And just listening in on this group, you could start to feel the energy shift just within the planning group. Now, everything they were doing was within the context of a meeting we were already at. So they did not add on an extra meeting to redo the plans they had for this other meeting. They're using the time they've got. The next week, they carried out the plan. It went very well. A lot of people were on board. They started to build some trust. All of that was really good. But what's important about that meeting that happened the following Monday, I think it was, is it was the same time. So let's say it had been scheduled from 9:30 to 5. It was still 9:30 to 5. And let's say they had invited 50 stakeholders. I don't know how many it was. They still invited the same people. They still had the same catering, the same coffee. Everything was the same except how they approached the meeting. And they approached it in a meeting in a way where they were attempting to build support in. And by the way, the energy they had back when they were putting this together, the day that I was with them, you could feel the energy in that room becoming part of the task. So this is a pretty simple kind of thing. And you might have stuff that you're doing today or tomorrow where you could say, all right, so am I concerned about anything going on? That's the first step. The second one is, do I know why I'm concerned? Do I know what's going on with those people? You know, what's, to use my language, what's going on at level 1, 2, and 3, but, you know, what's concerning them? Do I get that? And now, how can I begin to blend support in? And my strong suggestion for you right now is to do it gradually. You know, tweaking is a really good thing. You do not want to do something where you're doing some massive event and you're trying it out for the first time, so you're nervous, you're out of your comfort zone, and you're putting them out of their comfort zones. This is not a recipe for getting something good done. So start small, like tweaking the meeting just a little bit, just to see what happens. Okay, so some various reasons why you might be watching this video. And one might be the title sounded kind of interesting and you were done watching cat videos and you thought, oh, maybe I'll just watch this. But now you're kind of hooked and you say, oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, here's what I'd suggest you do. I wrote a book earlier this year and it's free and it's posted on my website and it's called Seizing Moments of Possibility. And it's exactly about what I'm talking about right now. It goes further than that, but this is what it talks about, is how do we blend support in. And you might just skim it to see if there's anything there that interests you. You might want to read a little bit more. And it's only a 70-page book, and there are like 9 application activities. I mean, really practical things that you could actually use, I hope, today. So that might interest you. Another group might be looking at this video right now and go, wow, we could really use what Rick's talking about like tomorrow morning. And if that's the case, I would urge you to download the free ebook and take a look at chapters 1 and 2. And there's a couple application activities there, and just look at those and go, is there anything in those 2 chapters that might be helpful? And remember, keep it simple, keep it safe. Okay? Now, there might be a third group watching this, and you might be saying, yeah, we know we got to build support in. Yeah, but man, we are stuck. Have no idea how to do that. I mean, it's just awful. And if that's the case, then I really would urge you to not just, take a look at the book. I'd urge you to read the book. I mean, it's only 70 pages. I mean, it's, how long is it going to take you? Take a look at the book. And if there are things that seem like this would be really practical, but I don't know how to do it, I'm really concerned about actually doing that, then I'd urge you to give me a call. I'm not going to turn it into a consulting assignment. It's just be on the phone for 20, 30 minutes. And I can almost guarantee that at the end of that time, you'll walk away from that call with some ideas that you could begin to apply tomorrow. All right, and that's it. So I hope you like this. I hope it's helpful. And remember, you can get the book from my website. It's free. I keep saying that. And if you like this video, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos in the series. I encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also, if you have any comments or would like to make comments about this video or any that I'm doing, please do that. I would love to hear from you. So you might have ideas of your own, like how you've done things like that. You might have things that you like about the presentation, things you don't like. Anything at all is fair game, and I would love to read it. So, hey, thanks for watching.